Hi, I'm Neil Nobel, editor-at-large of The Prickly Pear. That's thepricklypear.org. Be sure to save us in your browser and visit us daily. We have information up every day, new videos, new articles. Our guest today is Shawnna Bolick. Shawnna is part of the Arizona Representatives, Legislative District 20, and is a candidate for Secretary of State. Shawnna, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you guys for having me on again. It's been a couple months too long, I think.
It has been. We ran a piece of yours earlier in the week about election integrity, and I know from our own analytics that that ranks near the top in terms of interest of our readers. Could you give us maybe a brief update as where you think we are in Arizona in terms of the status of finally securing maybe fair and safe elections?
Well, I wish I had a crystal ball in front of me. As you may know, we had some litigation that took place, and some of our election integrity bills, unfortunately, were wrapped up in that process. A lot of us have been asking the governor to call a special session to address some of those issues that were struck down in the single subject case last week. To me, it seems like moving forward, we don't have enough members in the House or the Senate, I think, to do a lot of election integrity things. So we're going to have to actually work to find out what the majority believes in. Last session, we were unable to get legal ID on all ballots through. So thankfully, there are some citizen groups out there working to actually get that onto the ballots in 2022. Unfortunately, it's after when we need it. So we are hoping to maybe bring that back and see if we can actually get some of those members on that bill. To me, that's paramount. In addition to making sure that our voting rolls are clean, you really can't worry about other things, in my opinion. If the voting rolls aren't clean and you're not asking everybody to show proper identification that's legal while they're voting, and that's not a lot to ask. I really wish at the federal level that was actually law. As you know, we have a federal only ballot here for people who can't prove their citizenship, who haven't shown that they can actually vote. As you know and are very well aware, that list seems to be very long. And sometimes we're wondering if that list even should be receiving a mail-in ballot because it's not really written in statute. A lot of the things that have been discovered in the last few election cycles are basically the ones that are showing us that our laws are not modernized. And we might have these different processes. And moving forward, we need to develop a group that literally goes through all of our election laws to find out how they need to be tweaked so they can get updated, because we can't have another Secretary of State that goes rogue like the current one, who was trying to get around a lot of the statutes last time. And moving forward, to be comfortable for everybody to have honest and fair elections, to me, you need to look at all those statutes to see exactly where the problems are.
Did we get anything done in terms of, for want of a better term, Zucker bucks?
Yes, yes. We actually got that one through. It was a standalone bill. And during the interim, I actually have reached out to the county recorders, and I'm still receiving emails and documentation to see exactly where they stand on still having those dollars, because obviously right now, if they have any of those dollars left, they need to return them. But we were actually one of the few states that was able to pass that. That was Representative Jake Hoffman's bill. He plowed ahead and was able to get it done. There were a few of us that were looking to run the same exact bill, and we basically coalesced behind one bill, which is what you should do whenever you find a really good bill and you have more strength in numbers, right? Instead of just one person.
If correct me if I'm wrong, I think 4 states have done something on this, and that to me looks pathetic, really. We should be doing a lot more than that. Well, if you don't have safe elections and fair elections, what's the point of politics? And I think that's really important in terms of why you're running for Secretary of State. So you're going to be in the primary with 2 other candidates. I want to give you an opportunity to talk to our viewers and tell them why they should be supporting Shawnna.
Well, thank you for reminding me I have multiple candidates in the primary. We'll see exactly who all files their paperwork come in the spring. So I filed to run for office at the end of June, And one of the reasons why I decided to file paperwork to run was I think our political system within the Secretary of State's office and the elections office have become hyper-partisan. And to me, we shouldn't have a hyper-partisan. That office should be treated as Switzerland. It should be a neutral body. As you know, George Soros has come in and bought a lot of these offices up over the last couple decades, I think. I think it's 2 decades now that he has had his tentacles in the various election offices. And so, as you guys remember, I had a ballot access lawsuit leveled against me last go around. And thankfully, I prevailed. But after I prevailed, something just didn't feel right, didn't set right with me. So I actually filed a public record request with the Secretary of State's office just on my first and last name. And the amount of information that I received back was tremendous, heavily redacted, as we can imagine. But the one thing that I could see in the various emails was the fact that they were working with the Democratic attorney on the outside to throw me off the ballot, even before they leveled the lawsuit against me. And to me, I thought, if they can do that to me, they can do that to anybody. And who knows if we have honest and fair elections, because they're not even letting everybody get onto the ballot the right way. We could see Rupali Desai sending an email over to people in the Secretary of State's office, asking for different information before they filed. So that's one thing. I think we need to depoliticize the office. You know, I am one of the most conservative House members at the legislature, and I promise that I will check my politics at the door, but not my conservative principles. I think there's a way to differentiate between your principles and politics. I'm not a huge fan of politics, but here we are. In order to get people that are really good, who understand the Constitution, I think you need to get involved in politics. Sometimes it's not fun or easy. A lot of people, as you know, have been stepping up to challenge the school board members, and I applaud all of those moms. But at the same time, whenever you look at the Secretary of State's office, that person is not just the chief election officer. They also handle some business filings. And for the last year and a half, it's been very hard for all the businesses to get their filings in on time because the office has been closed. Why is that office closed is beyond me. I've had individuals reach out to me and say, hey, I need to do this filing. Can you help? Hey, I have to update my driver's license. You know, they're not calling me back. People are leaving messages over there and asking their state representatives like myself to help them. When we look at that office, they have trademark filings, they have other business filings. So it's not all about the election. So to me, maybe you have a Secretary of State down the road who is more of a neutral body. Maybe it's not even an elected position. Maybe it's an appointed position. I don't really know. As you know, our state lacks a lieutenant governor who has often ascended into the governorship. And when I look at my counterparts who are running in both the Republican and Democratic primary, I feel like I'm the most qualified. Not only do I have a better grasp and understanding of more probably public policy issues to hit the ground running if I have to actually ascend, but when I look at my legislative record, in my 3 short years I've been there, I've accomplished a lot. And all of my bills that I have gotten through, they've all been bipartisan. So I think I can prove to myself and prove to others, as I have across the state of Arizona, that, you know, I am going to be someone who you can trust. I listen to poll watchers, poll observers, my constituents on all sorts of varying issues before I even craft the legislation. And obviously, running for Secretary of State, I'm giving up my position at the legislature to do policy making, but I have really great working relationships with other legislators who will still be there. So in that sense, you know, I have a very good working relationship to actually ensure if we do find some gaps in the system that affect the Secretary of State's office, I'll be able to actually help get them across the line.
How can people help you?
Well, one thing, we're collecting lots of signatures right now. You can easily go onto our website. We have a petition that's listed right at the top. Donations are paramount. I'm driving around the state. I've already put 15,000 miles in my car since the end of June. And I am the driver because I get nauseous and I can't always be in the passenger seat, and I definitely can't ride in the back seat even for a nap. But those are the 2 important things right now. We are looking for obviously more people to help us with meet and greets with their friends and neighbors. You don't have to be political, but you have to obviously agree with kind of where we're standing. reaching out to your friends and neighbors to invite them over your house for a small intimate gathering. And of course, fundraising is going to be paramount next year. Even though I'll be in the legislature, I can still actually do fundraising and we can still collect petition signatures. And our signatures will be due at the beginning of April. And, my legislative race where they tried throwing me off the ballot, we collected over 1,000 signatures. For the statewide race, we have to collect over 10,000 in order to qualify. So it's a big task. Obviously, it's something I signed up to do. And the great part is I have been able to, look at all the people that I have had a chance and pleasure to meet over the past 20 years and reach out to them, and they're introducing me to their friends and neighbors as we traverse the state. We've been to a lot of Republican clubs. We've been to some business meetings. Heck, I even gave a speech at Eastern Arizona College a few weeks ago on the Constitution. So I was able to talk to some community college students too.
Wow. How do you assess Arizona politics in light of the Virginia elections? And even you talked about school boards and the national eruption, which is occurring there. I guess we've got a real incident in both the Chandler and Scottsdale school districts here in Arizona. But given this rising red wave and Arizona, basically on the border, teetering back and forth between Democratic and Republican, how do you view the coming election cycle?
I think it's going to be a good one for Republicans, as we're seeing from the recent polls. And obviously, I'm not really a typical poll watcher when it comes to looking at these things because I don't trust a lot of the stuff that goes on. But it seems to me there's trends towards our direction in 2022, especially picking up congressional seats. Hopefully, we can take back the Senate as well. That will trickle down to anybody else on the ballot. You have your U.S. Senate race that will be at top of the ballot. And, all of our races will be below that one. But the real uprising of the parents that are upset about what's going on at their school boards, I think is amazing. As you know, I'm a big school choice supporter and have always advocated on making sure that the kid gets to the right school of their choice, doesn't matter what it is, even if it's homeschooling. So being able to interact with a lot of these parents over the last couple of months has been amazing. Today is November 12th, and I just sent a letter to not only the Deer Valley Unified School District on a problem that they're having out there. As you know, that sometimes there's teachers who are predators who get bounced around to school districts. So there's a second one coming out of Deer Valley this year. I've already written a letter to the other teacher, and thankfully he got arrested and so forth, lost his teaching credentials. But this one, it was a coach, and two of the volleyball players thankfully reported it to a parent. And unfortunately, this week at their school board meeting, they allowed the teacher to resign, which I don't think is okay. So I have elevated it to the State Board of Education, hoping that we can actually remove his teaching credentials or anything else that he might have on the certification level. But Scottsdale, holy cow. It's amazing. They reached out to me a few days ago, a bunch of the parents who were actually doxxed inside of that dossier. And I wrote a letter not only to their school district, but I also sent a really long letter to our Attorney General, Mark Brnovich, to have him look and investigate exactly what was going on. It's an abuse of power. And, anybody in elected office should never be abusing that office, let alone doxing parents who are standing up for their parental rights. Is, going to the school board meeting shouldn't be a problem where you are called terrorist, right?
I was going to say, this really started at the top with the Democratic Party, labeling opponents of the Biden administration, opponents of Antifa, opponents of Black Lives Matter, opponents of Joe Biden as domestic terrorists. And it seems like local officials have heard this. And I just find it astounding that they would either keep such lists, recruit law enforcement agencies to look into what parents are doing at school board meetings. This is not only is it ridiculous, but in my view, it's frightening. This
Absolutely.
mindset that someone who disagrees with you is now a domestic terrorist of some kind and has to be observed.
Well, you have to keep in mind, this is Obama 2.0. Obama, whenever he was in office, they had that fishy list, and it was very similar, but just not as developed as what they have been able to do these last couple months, right? So you had that going on. Then you had the people that were fighting back against Obamacare. You had the 1% group. You had all of those different kind of little factions that were developed under Obama. And that Organizing for America group did not go quiet after Obama was out of office. Instead, they went around the country with people like Eric Holder to develop other things that they could potentially work on. And yes, they're frightening parents. I mean, parents should be able to stand up for their rights. You know, everybody's blessed whenever they're actually a parent of a kid, right? So it's not like everybody should become a parent. But those lists and everybody had started back under Obama, and obviously they highly weaponized a lot of the agencies. You know, IRS, they would come after conservative groups to basically push back against fundraising. You had the John Doe case out of Wisconsin with Eric O'Keefe, different O'Keefe than, you know, the Project Veritas O'Keefe, but the same scenarios are still going on. And it's got to be Obama 2.0. There's nothing else that I can think of other than all of his people that are still government bureaucrats, right? They're still loving what Obama did, and now they're just forcing it upon everybody with having "Let's go Brandon," right? So,
Right. Well, I hope the Republican Party becomes more outspoken about this, because they've been, I mean, you've been outspoken about it. Wendy Rogers has been outspoken about it. I was joking the other day. I said, when you have to look at the Arizona legislature for testicular fortitude, one has to look mostly at the women in the Arizona legislature. I don't know where are the men here.
I don't know.
It's discouraging.
But you also have to think we're mothers. So whenever you really light a fire under a mama bear, you know, there's going to be something to pay at that point. And, you know, having grandkids too, you know, these are things that we have to worry about in the future. I don't want to have to worry about my grandkids not having the same kind of upbringing that I had. You know, I went to public school, K-12. I don't remember any of these scenarios ever playing out whenever I was growing up.
Well, I would have never dreamed of it when I went through school. And I too went through public schools and state universities. And while the state university was liberal leftist, it wasn't the state that it is today. Before we close, give us some web addresses and other places where people can contact you.
Yes. My last name is spelled Bolick, and our website is bolickforarizona.com. So it's BOLICKFORARIZONA.com. And on our website, we have everything from, you know, requesting a bumper sticker to a yard sign to volunteering to making a donation to hosting a meet and greet. There's a form that pops up right whenever you come to our website. I know a lot of people don't like that, but it's very helpful because a lot of people are looking to donate or sign a petition. And, you know, just reading across, you'll see my biography listed there. You'll see some of the bills that I have worked on successfully with the governor signature on the bill later on. So, you know, I'm not afraid to answer questions. I've traveled the state. One night I was actually up in Payson at their tea party for 2 hours. So I was the main speaker. And they're like, well, you got an hour to speak and an hour for questions. I'm like, okay. I didn't think we'd be there for 2 hours, but we were there much longer than 2 hours because people want to know where you stand on stuff. And you have to actually get out, you know, get that flesh out there. You know, I like to just say, you know, when I had my door-to-door campaigns, I was going through so many different pair of shoes, but now it's replacing tires to make sure that I'm actually getting there, making sure the rubber meets the road in a safe manner, right?
That's right. Well, Shawnna, it's very nice of you to spend the time you have. I want to be respectful of your time. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Well, thanks for having me on, and keep up the great work, Neil.
Bye-bye.
Take care.